Hi everybody, this is Monday, April 13th. This will be video number 4. This accompanies ALEKS Quiz 4, Quarter 4. This quiz that goes with this video is due next Wednesday, which will be April 22nd. And we're going to learn how to solve another kind of quadratic. So all of these quadratics, like I mentioned in the first video, they make a happy face or a sad face. Remember, they are called parabolas. So I'm going to give you an equation, y equals x squared minus 2x. Notice that it has a power of 2, it has an x squared, it has a 2x, but it does not have a number without an x. This is a special type of quadratic that we're going to learn how to solve today. Always, when you solve a quadratic, you set it equal to 0. So that y becomes a 0. So I'm going to flip it around, still write it x squared, take away 2x, and that y is going to be a 0 now. And it looks like that before you solve it. They always look like this before you solve them. Each one of these terms, the x squared and the 2x, they both have an x, which allows you to slide an x to the front by factoring. So I put an x to the front, and I put one parentheses. These do not have two parentheses. When I take an x out of both of these, and we've done this type of factoring before, this x squared now just is 1x. This 2x, I slid the x out, is now just a 2. I have two pieces. I have the x I slid out, and I have the x minus 2. Just like the other problems we've done, you set each piece equal to 0. So you set this x equal to 0. You set the x minus 2 equal to 0. And you solve each one of these factors. X equals 0 is already solved. That's an answer. It's done. X minus 2, you have to add 2 to both sides. So I do that and I get x equals 2. It's done. Very similar to what we did in the last video. Always two answers because the equation has a power of 2. I put the graph on this even though you're not going to graph your answers because again, you need to understand what this does. So 0 is an answer, so I put a dot there. 2 was one of our answers. So I put a dot here. Those two dots are part of our happy face or parabola. If I draw the graph through these dots, there's your happy face. Again, you don't have to graph them today. You just have to practice sliding the x to the front, solving your two pieces. So for your last examples, I'm going to put them up here, but you don't have to graph them. So here's your second example. 3x squared minus 21x equals 0. With all factoring, you want to do whatever you can to make the problem work. So what I need to do is I need to factor out everything I can, but remember, these both have x's, they both have numbers, and they're both divisible by 3. So when I slide something to the front, I can take a 3 out of each one of these. They each have an x to give. I'm going to take an x out. When I took the 3 and an x out of the first term, there's only an x left. When I took a 3 out of a 21, remember we're dividing, it's a 7. The x I took out. I slid the 3x to the front. Once you get here, you're factored. So you take the 3x, you set it equal to 0. You take the x minus 7 and you set it equal to 0. And you solve those two mini equations that you made. You divide by 3 and you get 0. You add 7 to both sides and you get 7. This special type of equation today, all of them are going to have 0 as one of the two answers. When you take an x to the front, and you can't do this with all equations, but today's you can, always 0 is an answer. Here's another example. For the next example, we're going to use 2x squared. Take away 3x equals 0. Now these both have numbers. You have a 2 and you have a 3, but they're not divisible by anything in common, so you cannot take a number to the front. But since they both have an x and no number at the end, I can slide an x to the front. This will leave a 2x here because I slid the x out. This will leave just a 3 here because I slid the x out. Almost done. Take the part you slid out, set it equal to 0. That's one factor. Take the other part, set it equal to 0. That's the other factor. The x equals 0 is done. It is solved. You can box it up, it's finished. This takes a little work. It takes 2 steps. We have to add 3. We get 2x equals 3. Last step is going to be divide, and I divide, I get 3 halves, or you get 1.5. Your ALEKS quiz that goes with this video is only this type of factoring and solving. Thank you very much.